Welcome. I'm just going to give everybody a moment to hop on. So while we wait, please share with us where you're joining us from. Just drop it in the chat. If you're new to Hey You Human, or you have joined us before, the number one thing causing you the most stress right now, and the one question you have when it comes to stress. And we'll just give it another minute or two so people can get on here, and then we'll get going. All right, welcome everybody. Drop the answers to these in the chat. Feel free to dance to our fun little music. And we'll get started in a minute or so here. Are you ready to dive in? I am. And Melissa is too. She is also from Team Hey You Human and hanging out with us today.
Hello.
So before we dive into everything, let me talk a little bit about who I am and who Hey You Human is, so that you're a little aware of who is presenting all of this fun information to you. My name is Sarah Longoria. I am the founder of Hey You Human, which I'll talk about in a moment. I'm the creator of the rapid relief technique, which I will also be talking about on this event. I have a degree in biomedical sciences with a minor in psychology. I have post-bac work in neurophysiology and epidemiology. So all sorts of really fun science nerd things. But I also have a whole bunch of training and certifications in energy medicine, breath work, alternative health modalities, and a lot of weird, not so considered Western science stuff. But I've taken a lot of my science training and really been able to explain a lot of what's going on in these other health modalities. And so I've spent the last decade combining science with energy, with emotions, researching, testing, and creating, and really figuring out how to teach people the truth about this human experience we're having and how to find true happiness, because that's what we're all after. When you look at why you want the perfect job, why you want the perfect spouse, why you want the money, why you want this, is because at the core of it, you're seeking a specific feeling, happiness. And what we've really dedicated our company to, Hey You Human, is teaching people how to find this happiness. And we're going to dispel a lot of rumors about happiness and stress today in this event. So stay tuned. So who is Hey You Human? Hey You Human is a mental health and human wellness company. We're really the forefront, kind of revolutionizing mental health and human wellness. And you'll hear about that as I talk more today. We serve corporations and individuals in over 80 countries around the world. So we are all over the place. We have quite the global impact. We're the first human development company. So we've kind of created our own little industry. We've kind of moved out of the coaching, the mentoring, the personal development space, and really created this new space called human development, which is much more about what's going on internally inside of you and not so much about those external achievement goals that so many of the other industries are focused on. This is more about, okay, great, you made all the money, but why do you still feel stressed? And why do you still feel worried? And why do you still feel not enough? Like, what's going on there? That doesn't make sense. I did all the things. We're really working to take it back and say, let's work on this foundational level first, human development. And I could talk about that forever, but I won't, because that's not what you're here for today. We offer a monthly membership and training for our individuals. We also have certification and one-on-one support for our private practice and with partnerships with other companies and therapists and whatnot. We have business consultation and executive development with our corporate people and our corporate partnerships. And we do live and in-person and virtual events. So like right now, here we are, virtual event. Tomorrow, I'm actually flying out to California and I am doing an in-person event. So we have all sorts of fun things that we are doing all over the place all the time. And we're a human first company, meaning we put our humans first before our bottom line and before a lot of things, before everything really. Okay, so my commitment to you on this event is to expand your understanding of what's actually behind your stress. Because there's a lot of talk. Stress is a big topic right now. Mental health is a big topic right now. And a lot of what you're being told, a lot of what you're being sold, quite honestly, is outdated information that really doesn't apply anymore and is actually working against us. And it's why it's such an epidemic in our world, is because we don't have the right information and the right tools to actually move past this. But you're going to learn them today. We're going to discuss the missing pieces to understanding this life and removing stress from yours. We're going to have a lot of aha moments. We're going to learn the full rapid relief technique so you can start feeling different this week. I'm going to teach it to you. I know a lot of these events that you come into, like people talk about all the great concepts, and then you sit there at the end being like, well, that's great. I know I need to bring more gratitude into my life. That's great. I know I need to stop stressing over this so much, but like, how do I actually do that? We're really going to tell you the how. Like, how do you actually do that? We're going to practice it together. You're going to walk away knowing how to do this and being able to apply it to your life. And then we're going to have lots of fun because I'm fun. Melissa's fun. I'm sure you guys are fun. And we're just going to have a good time together. So yay. All right. My requests of you, fellow dear humans: ask questions and keep your mind curious. Again, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is very different than what you have heard of ever. It's going to be the opposite of what you've been taught often for most of your life. And so keep your mind curious. Ask questions. If something isn't landing for you and you have something that keeps popping up being like, well, I don't know, ask us. This is where I'll see Melissa wave me down and she'll have a great
question. This is literally me.
Yeah, she'll be like, question. And she'll have a great question one of you guys ask, or she'll have some input she feels, we got to make sure we cover. So keep your mind curious, ask questions, cell phones, emails, distractions off. Give us your time. I'm going to try to do this in under 2 hours, maybe even less. Give us your attention. This will change your life if you take this and apply it, and it will change your stress levels.
On that note, this is actually, of course, my timing is impeccable. Use the chat box. So I wanted to make sure people know, use the chat box. There's 2 functions. You can chat. So if something that Sarah is saying or I am saying is resonating, chat. If you're like, oh my God, I've never thought of that, or yikes, or how would this apply? Use the chat box. If you have formal questions, there's also a Q&A box, which will be sent to myself directly. And if it's worthy of kind of like an open forum discussion, I will reiterate it to Sarah for a live kind of conversation, if you will. And if it's something just like, where can I find more info on this? I will be able to reply to you more privately.
Yeah.
But your feedback is our fuel.
Is our fuel and our friends. So keep asking questions, keep engaging. And we're so happy to be here with you and go through all of it. So breakdown of event. What is stress? The overview of everything, getting acquainted with the true cause of stress, breaking down what's really going on in your body, why you have the stress, and why life isn't working out in your favor. Do you ever feel like that? Like, I'm doing all the things. I'm, doing the mindset work, or I'm yogaing it, or I'm meditating, or like I'm doing the things, I'm bringing more gratitude into my life, but like life, I still feel like I keep like hitting up against a wall. We're going to learn the rapid relief technique and getting the stress out for good, full process, fully explained and practiced. Then we're going to talk about how you integrate this into your life and how you apply it to parenting, work, finances, and relationships. And then we're going to go over a few trick tips, frequently asked questions, and how we can support you further on this journey. So everybody, let's take a breath. Take a breath, give yourself a moment, roll those shoulders back. Just be in your body, be here with us, whatever it took to get you here today. It's Friday, right? If you're at work, if you're this, just take a breath. And all those things that are in your head, just like let them go for right now. And we're going to talk about letting them go, because I know sometimes you say like, let them go. And you're like, I can't right now, but try your best to, and try to be here with us, because here we go. Let's do this. All right. So what are we told about stress? We're told a lot of things. We're told stress is any type of change. This is the formal definition. If you take it to Google, Google's going to tell you stress is any type of change that causes physical, emotion, or psychological strain. It's your body's response to an event that requires attention or action. Maybe we're going to dispel that in a second, though. We're told everyone experiences stress, but do they? Because I'm going to tell you guys a little secret right now. When I went to start this webinar, there was no webinar in my Zoom, and Zoom told me, you don't have access to webinars. And I said, oh, I don't. And this was 4 minutes before this was about to start. And I messaged Melissa and said, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. Let's look. So literally, this is an event that hundreds of people are registered for, that we literally, like 2 minutes before it starts, basically are being told by Zoom, you don't have a webinar here. Now, most people would be stressed out. You had a stressful event, you're stressed. I wasn't. I was like, well, it's going to work out. Or if the event ends up not going, I don't know, we'll move through it. So everyone does not experience stress. You are taught to believe that everyone does. And I think the majority of people do right now, because we haven't been taught what we're about to teach you. But stress doesn't have to exist.
Can I add a comment?
Yeah.
This early on. I think it's important to distinguish between a stressor and the feeling of stress.
Yeah. And
we're
going to get into
stressors, but then there's how we respond to it. And
and that's like
stressor we had no webinar, but we didn't experience stress. And that's a very important distinction to kind of set the framework for all of our dismantling of what we're told that Sarah is going to blow your mind with.
Yes. Because we're told stress is unavoidable and actually good for us to some degree. And so like Melissa said, stressful events are unavoidable right now in our world. Traumatic events are unavoidable right now in our world. Maybe we'll get to a space someday where we don't have all this stressful stimuli. But if you look in the world right now, like, y'all, it's intense. Like, let's be real. We live in a very intense, very stimulated world. And unless you plan to go buy a plot of land out in Timbuktu and, not interact with society, which quite honestly, that's going to be stressful too, because now you have to grow your own food. Oh man, you got a bug and now it ate your food. Like it's unavoidable. Stressful stimuli is unavoidable, but experiencing stress is not something that has to be part of your life. And I actually don't believe it's good for us. They say stress is good because it stops you from procrastinating. It gets you moving. It makes you change and evolve. Maybe the stressful stimuli does, but not that feeling. And you guys, know what I'm talking about, right? Like 5 years ago, if that webinar thing would have happened to me, I would have had that whole feeling, right? That whole anxiety-ridden feeling in my body that would have happened, but I didn't. And I don't, even with big, huge stuff.
Well, we had a couple of people that share, motherhood and parenting, relationships. We have that stress. And so you guys probably know that feeling of like a baby is crying, or you're tired, or you're forgetting things, or your partner does something that just is like, you can feel it kind of taking over your body. And that's actually not good for you. That's not good for your nervous system, that feeling and that experience. And the more we shut it down, the more we're compounding the impact of how we respond to stressors.
Yes. So we're told you can't eliminate stress. It's part of life. You can only shift how you respond to it. Now, I can say, yeah, it's going to be hard for us to eliminate stimuli in our life. Like I said, unless you're going to leave your friends, leave your family, leave everybody, go live in a cave somewhere and only eat berries that, are grown right next door. I don't know. Like, yes, it's going to be hard to eliminate stimuli in our life, but we can eliminate stress. We can eliminate that feeling of overwhelm and anxiety and just that we all in this world seem to be experiencing. And it sucks because we're not living. And I know that, like, I see it. We work with people day in and day out. That's why this is called the Stress Less, Live More event. You're not living because it's so hard for you to be present because all of this stuff is inside. Stress is caused from the external, from an outside event that causes a reaction in your body, right? Is that generally what most people think? I think that's what most people think, right? If my spouse would stop doing this, if my kids would just listen, if my job, if the world would just chill the hell out, I wouldn't have the stress. But what about all those times you have stress when nothing's happening? And why, if stress is just a reaction to an outside event, do we all have such different reactions to things? I'll use a family member of mine as a perfect example. She's always says to me, like, I don't understand how you're so calm right now, because something happens and she's like, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just do this. Like, people always ask me, they're like, how are you so calm right now? Like, what this is happening? It's like, well, so why are people having such different reactions? Have you ever had that thing where you're like all mad about something and somebody's like, I don't understand why you're so upset about this? Like, right? That happens a lot of times with spouses. And we're going to talk about that later, where you're like all reactive and this person's like, I don't get it. Why are you so upset? So same external event, but why are we all acting different? And again, furthermore, better yet, why do we often feel stress and anxiety when nothing's happening? When you're literally going to sleep at night. There's no actual external stressful event happening in that moment. Or have you ever had those wonderful moments in life? I know I used to, where everything's actually going really well. Everything's actually working out. And you're like, why do I have so much stress? So wait a second. Does that actually make sense? That stress is actually caused by all of this external stuff in our life, that if we actually removed it? Or how many of you have made changes in your life? You've changed the job. You've done something different with the kids. You've done something different with your life. And you find out the stress is still there. And you're like, well, damn, what's up with that? Sounds like a you problem. And don't get me wrong, y'all. Sometimes being told it's a you problem, you want to punch that person in the face. Like, right? Like, you're like, oh, great. Another thing that's my problem. Another thing that's my issue I have to deal with. I get it, guys. Like, it gets annoying, right? This whole world's like, take personal responsibility, take da. And I get it. Melissa and I have conversations about this all the time where it's like, why does it always have to be me that has to do something about it? And I get that. But when you start understanding that 99.9% of your stress is on you, it's actually really empowering. Because it means you actually have the power to change everything. It's not the government that's causing you stress. It's not the world that's causing you stress. It's not the next door neighbor that's causing you stress. It's not the job. It's actually something going on internally that you are able to shift so that all of these things may still happen around you, but you no longer are bothered by them. Or furthermore, now you can see the solutions because we see our lives through what's going on inside of us. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit. So sometimes you can't even see the solution in front of you because your stress is just completely clouding it. So my definition of stress is a little bit different. It's actually the unprocessed emotions and trauma caused from lived experiences and life memories that are inside of you, and they're being triggered, they're being poked when things happen in the world. And furthermore, even when things don't happen in the world, they're in there kind of tapping you on the shoulder saying, there's some unprocessed emotions and traumas in here that you need to deal with. Because, and we're going to go into this, we actually learn and evolve through our emotions. So really, your stress has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening in your life or the world. And I know a lot of people are like, that can't be right, but it really is true. And it has everything to do with what's happening inside of you. Everything to do with what's happening inside of you. And I get this for some of you that are sitting here right now being like, I don't know, girl. I don't know. Like, life is pretty freaking hard for me right now. It's pretty freaking hard for me. Like, I can't get a job. I can't pay rent. I'm sitting here like with 2 kids that are crying. I'm a single mom. Like, we work with and I want you to understand this too, with the demographics we work with. We span time, space, race, religion, socioeconomic classes with this work that we teach. So I get it that some of you might be sitting here, well, oh, sounds nice, Miss Business Owner in her nice warm house with money in her pocket and all of the things. Must be nice. Of course, it's all you. I remember one time having one of my Black friends say to me, well, this sounds like white personship. And I said, I get it. Like, I get it, because a lot of us assume this can only apply to you when you're at a certain level. You have your basic needs met. And to some extent, yeah, it's a hell of a lot easier when you do, but it still applies to wherever you are at in life. And a lot of times you will never get out of the hole that you're in life until you start understanding this. Because as long as you continue to blame the world for all your stress, you're going to need the world to change for your stress to go away. And let me tell you, world ain't changing anytime soon. It isn't changing. And so we have to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on with me and how can we start doing this? Right? I got my person who's like, what? No. Okay. So let's start digging into the truth, because now that I've kind of dispelled some of the things that are happening, made some really outlandish comments, now let's talk about what's really happening. So we make stress and trauma about the experience that happened, when really it's not about that at all. It's actually about the part, what's inside of us that wasn't understood or processed. And we're going to get into this. Like, I'm going to break this down for you guys so it's very clear, because our bodies actually know what to do when something stressful hits. Stress and trauma are going to happen in our lives. It's actually how, as a human, we grow, evolve, and learn. But we have to be able to actually process out the emotions and everything so that we can actually learn from this experience and move past it. Humans learn and evolve through our emotions. This is a key element right here that the world has not understood yet. This is very new information that at Hey You Human, we've really understood and discovered and been doing a lot of research on for a while, and really see that this is how we learn and evolve. We learn and evolve through our emotions. But guess what? Most of us don't get to actually feel our emotions. So what happens when you aren't able to emote? And truly, this is supposed to be done when we're kids. Think of your kids. Your kids, if any of you have kids or see kids, they're crazy. One minute they're happy. The next minute they're on the floor crying. They're this, they're all over the place, because they're integrating their emotions. They're integrating, they're understanding them. They're getting a base on this world. And as adults, the same thing happens. Stimuli happens, things happen. You get angry, you get sad, you get these emotions. And as you work through them, a whole physiological process happens in your body, guys. An entire chain reaction happens in your body that allows you to begin to see things, understand things, and come back to balance. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. So when you aren't able to emote, it stays in your body. It stays in your body. That time your mom took the chip out of your hand when you were 2 years old and you lost it on the floor. And then she said, you stop crying right now. And so you pulled it together and you stopped crying. That was traumatic to your little 2-year-old. And right now that little person who grew up to be an adult now wonders why they always feel like everybody's taking everything from them. And you might do all the mindset work you want, but somehow you just are always so annoyed. Why does everybody take everything from people? Because kids, you're seeing the world through that unprocessed thing. You didn't learn that, oh crap, that lady just took that from me. I didn't like that very much. Because if you would have gone through the emotion, your body would have learned. Your body would have learned, okay, she took that from me because she didn't want me to have it, but I really wanted it. Okay, I don't like when people take things from me. That's what you would have learned. Instead, you learned people take things from me because you never fully processed it out. The only way for us to start shifting things in our body, how we see the world, eliminating our stress, is to go back to these experiences and actually start processing them, because our mind projects through our memories, experiences, and trauma. And I'm going to give you a little example of this, a little experiment. And this is really a surface level explanation of this, because really I'm going to explain to you how programmable our brain is. But what we're really talking about here is not only our brain, but our nervous system and our DNA. Like, we're going deeper levels here. But this will at least show you like how easily we see the world through how we're basically told and through our experiences. So when I was in college as a psych minor, they would always like have these experiments we could get into to like make money. And so I entered into one, and it was this experiment, and you sat in a room and they gave you this computer that basically brainwashed you about the color yellow. It was like yellow, 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 yellow. Yellow is the best thing ever. Yellow makes you money. You love yellow. Yellow is your favorite. And it was like 45 minutes of like sitting here watching about how fantastic yellow is, how rich I'm going to get from yellow, all these good things. And then I was paid to go into this room, and everything that I wrote down that was yellow, I think I made like $5 for, $10 for everything that I wrote down on this list that was yellow. So it was like game time. Going into the yellow room, going to write down all the yellow things, gonna make some money, right? So you get in there and you're like, yellow, and you write down all your yellow things. And then you're all proud of yourself and you walk out and you hand your thing to the lady, and she hands you another piece of paper and says, now write down everything that was red. And you're like, red? I don't know. You told me yellow. So you're like, red. Okay. There was a red lamp. I think there was a red rug. Red. And you maybe come up with 2 or 3 things. And then she so graciously ushers you back into the room to where you see it was not at all a red or a yellow room. It was a red room. More of the room was red than was yellow. But you did not see it because you had literally funneled your brain to only see this. This is how our brain works. It funnels what we see. And do you know what tells your brain what to see? Your nervous system and your DNA, friends, tells everything what to do. So what begins to happen in life is we start to see things not as they are, but based on what's happening inside of us. And life all of a sudden becomes all about us and not about us, all in the same circle. So let's talk about some of the things that might be causing you stress in your life. Let's talk about an example with a spouse. And hopefully those of you up here who have had a relationship with somebody, it doesn't need to be romantic. I said spouse, but it really can be anybody at this point. But I'm sure this will resonate with at least some of you. So let's say you're at home, you worked, you get home, you have kids, you're doing all this stuff, and your spouse walks in through the door a little bit later and says something along the lines of, house is a mess. And you're all, oh no. Oh no. That person did not just say that to me. So you're all of a sudden to this person like, are you kidding me right now? You can't even say hi to me. You're just going to talk about how messy the house is and how much I suck at getting stuff done. And your spouse or your friend is all, hold on, I didn't say anything about you. I was just saying that the house was a mess. Yeah, I know the house is a mess. I'm sorry, I'm not good enough. And now the other person's starting to get defensive. Hey, I didn't say any of that stuff. Like, why are you attacking me? Well, I'm not attacking you. You're attacking me. No, I didn't attack you. I just said this. Now you're all, why don't you ever understand how I feel? You never understand me. And this other person standing here looking at you like you are legit crazy. And you're like, I'm not crazy. Why can't you understand this? And it's not good, guys. It's not good. It's not good. This is not good. And this happens all the time. It happens with our kids. It happens with our parents. It happens with our friends. It happens with our coworkers. Do you ever feel like that in life where you look at the world and you're like, how in God's name could that person believe that? Do you feel that? I mean, this right now we're in a very polarizing world where people believe this and people believe this. And it's like very opposite. Do you ever look at it and you're like, how in God's name can that person not see this? They literally can't, you guys. They literally can't, because they are seeing the world through their experiences, their emotions, and their trauma. So what actually happened in this situation? It was all about you and not about you all at once. You saw it. You saw the situation through your feelings of not feeling enough, through never measuring up, maybe to a parent in your past, feeling like you're supposed to be this perfect human that does it all. Because let's be real, what does the world put on all of us, especially us women, right? You got to do it all, everything. And if you don't, like, you're just like a failure, because she can do it, he can do it, they can do it. So why can't you? Oh, Melissa has something to say. I'm getting the eyebrows.
Eyebrows. I just want to reiterate one comment for replay purposes, because the chat doesn't come through on the replay. She said, my mom is like that. She always said the negative things since I was a teenager. She never made me feel like I was not enough. And I think I wanted to specifically bring this into the replay because I think so many people really can resonate with that feeling of not enoughness. And so we tend to do more, try harder, accomplish more, be more to other people so that we can feel like we're enough. But that not enoughness continues to stick with us when we sleep outside of maybe those, like they're with you forever, because you have a core hurt, a core emotion of not being enough that is you carry.
Yeah, a core
until
belief.
You release it.
A core belief. Like when people say they want to change their beliefs around things, they want to change their mindset around things. It's not about your mind. It's about what you believe about yourself, and your beliefs can only be changed. You form your beliefs based on your experiences, your memories, and those are made through your emotions, through your interaction with life and the emotions that happen from them.
And so I think it's important to note that our beliefs are like what we know our beliefs are kind of the tip of the iceberg. So you might think, I believe, like, I know I'm good enough. I know I'm good enough. Just to use this example. But what's kind of bubbling beneath the surface are things that we can't see, touch, experience, or necessarily put words to, because they're happening on a very subconscious, primitive level. And that's what makes it kind of this vicious cycle, is we can't yet anyways, actually pinpoint the conscious underlying belief system or memory that we have that's leading us that way. And I know for myself, when I started doing this work, I was like, I'm a very confident person. We don't have time to make fun of me and the whole story, but I had said to Sarah, like, I don't need any of this mindset stuff. I know I'm amazing. I'm actually very confident. I'm actually very deserving. Don't need any of it. And I believed that. In current state, I believe it. At the time, I believed it. I believed it with my whole heart. My mind believed it. My core emotions, my subconscious, the things that were stuffed beneath the surface.
Your body, your nervous system, your DNA, the stuff that actually runs the show.
Did not.
So this is where we run up with those problems of, here's, Melissa over here being like, yeah, I deserve everything. Yeah, I'm confident. But she's like, but why is this crap showing up in my life? And this is where it gets very confusing. Those of you who've been in the personal development world, have done mindset work, you get confused because you're like, well, I'm doing all of this, but like, why is it still sucking? Well, because there's a whole, like, your head's this big. The most of you is a whole nother thing. It's a body. And it's the body that runs the show. And we're going to talk more and more about this. So you're always going to see the world through your trauma and your emotions, the unprocessed ones, because that's the only way to change a core experience and pattern. So you see something different, respond and feel different. So you know when you're like, oh, I'm going to lose the weight this year. Watch me. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm going to do it. You're trying to change those habits. You're trying to change those patterns. But what happens? You slip back into the old way in a couple weeks, a couple months. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to be nicer. You ever have that with a relationship where you're working on the relationship and everybody's trying to change and do stuff and it works for a while, but then boom, the old patterns show back up? I hear all the time with people in the whole self-sabotage. Oh my God, why do I keep sabotaging myself? Why do I keep procrastinating? Because at the end of the day, it's those unprocessed emotions and trauma that are causing the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm that are stopping you and continuing to bring these patterns back up. Until we get to those, and don't worry, we're going to show you how to do it. Don't worry. Until we get to those, we're going to keep repeating the patterns that we don't want. We're going to keep feeling the stress that we don't want. And we're not going to get to live the lives that we want. Come on, next bullet point. So processing the trauma is the only way, you guys. So a few more examples for you. And, you know, I mean, Melissa, yours, I always love yours, but, you know, I'll give you a personal one that happened with me when we were recently, the team and I were in Arizona for another training we were doing. And you know, we were doing a lot of processing and a lot of stuff. So I was kind of in like a vulnerable state, but it was funny because one night we're sitting there and one of the team members says something that was like nothing, like literally was nothing. Like we were both looking up something and I went to go look it up and she goes, hey, I got it. Give me my moment. And y'all, I literally was like in my head, like, why is she being such a bitch to me? Oh my God, why would she say it like that? And it was funny because I was having like a dual moment where my brain, and we're going to talk about this, my brain was trying to logic it away. My brain was trying to say, she didn't say it like that, Sarah. She didn't say it like that. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. But my body was like, I'm pissed. I'm sad. I'm mad. Now, because I do this work, teach this work, have an entire company that does this work, I know in this situation, don't listen to my mind. Listen to my body. There is something in here. So I went and I processed it. And you guys, there was so much in there. So much in there around stuff that didn't even make sense. Every time I hurt the people I love the most, all this stuff. Once I processed it through, I was like laughing about it because I realized like what she said was nothing. And this happens all the time. How often do you have these moments with people in your life where it's like, they are just not seeing things how you see things? You know, and I know it happens a lot with spouses where you're like, why can't you support me on this? Or why can't you this? And this person's like, but I am. And you're like, but you're not. And you're in this whole thing. And I'll tell you guys, there is injustice that's happening in this world. There are jerks and assholes in this world. So I'm not saying that there's not those times where you need to actually come back and say, hold up. Don't talk to me like that, man. That's not cool. There are times like that, but even then, you guys, we have to process the emotions first before we go at the person. Otherwise, it will look like this. I'll give you another example. And this is one with my husband. I walk in one day, he's watching TV. I start talking about something and he says something to me along the lines of, hey, can you stop? I'm watching this. Y'all, I'm all mad. I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, don't talk to me like that. And years ago, I would have said that. I would have said, hey, don't speak to me like that. I'm not someone that you can talk to like that. You need to be kind when you speak to me. I would have set a boundary per se, right? An expectation on my husband. I would put an expectation of how he should treat me so I can feel a certain way.
Well, there's a lot of that, like, speak your truth, let it be known.
Mm-hmm. And so, right, I would have done this. And what would have happened? He would have immediately got defensive. Why are you da, 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 and it would have been a thing. So instead, I took my butt and I started processing this. I felt the feelings. I said the things that I actually wanted to say to him. I didn't say it to him. And like I said, we're going to talk about this in detail, but I got it out. And when I did this, what I realized was that the core of this was actually me feeling dismissed. And the core memories and trauma that came up was all these times as a little kid asking for my mom or my dad for something and saying, hey, and then them saying, go on, get out of here, go do stuff. It was seemingly harmless in the moment, right, you guys? It wasn't a parent beating me. It wasn't a parent doing something terrible. It was a parent who was trying to get something done saying, hey, get out of here and go play. But little me had taken this on as like, everybody just dismisses me. Nobody has time for me. And what was really interesting, guys, was this was a time in my life where I was starting my business and I kept feeling scared to put myself out there because I was worried people were going to dismiss me. And so that's how this stuff runs your life. And we don't even know it's there, but we can start using what's going on so that we can. So it's not me, it's you. That's what we want to believe, right? We want to point our fingers and be like, it's you, it's that, it's this. If this would change, I'd feel better. It's not me. But we're kind of learning here a lot of times it is us. And in that deal with my husband, guys, I did say something to him because after I processed it and came back to neutral, I went out there and I said, hey, babe, I know I interrupted you and that wasn't my intention, but like, you kind of came at me, man, a little harsh. And he immediately was like, you're right. Like that was a little much. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like be that harsh because I was coming at him, not in this emotionally charged, aggressive kind of way. And instead coming to like a neutral, hey, dude, come on. It was a whole different interaction. I was heard, I was seen, he was heard, he was seen. The stress was non-existent for us.
On that note, before we get to the meat, I think it's also important to note the difference between thinking and feeling.
We're going to get there.
We tend to put those together. We tend to be like, I think I'm acknowledging that I'm mad. I'm acknowledging that I'm angry, but we don't know how to feel
and express
it, or our brains are so developed because this is what we've learned. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. We've learned to just like let it go. Don't sweat the small stuff. We've learned crying isn't good, anger isn't good, rage isn't good, hate isn't good. We've learned all of these things about bad emotions, and our brain is so developed and so quickly saying us, this is how you respond. And this is how we keep ourselves safe. We logic our emotion away. Logic and emotions are two separate biological functions in our body. And what Hey You Human is here to teach humans is how to get our emotional strength up, how to practice emotions in a healthy way so we're not vomiting all of our emotions on somebody out. It's like the straw. When your husband says, hey, give me a second. And you're like, what did you just say? Because you can't take it anymore.
Or your kid has a meltdown and you have to lose it with them because you just hit it, or your coworker or your parent or whoever.
Or a slow checkout person at Walmart. We just came home from holidays.
Or the guy
most relaxing time. And my husband came home one day annoyed because the checkout person at Walmart was like so slow.
Yes.
Where did
the
you
guy
have to be?
cuts you off while you're driving, right? Like these moments. And in the hindsight, it's like, we know that this is not the right reaction to have, but we're needing to get it out because we've reached our limit. But don't worry, guys, we're experts on helping people eliminate stress, anxiety, and overwhelm from their bodies. And we know how to help you find your happy. So I know I'm like dispelling everything right now. And you guys might be feeling like, oh my God, my past. Oh my God, my children. Take a breath. We got you. Okay, so let's back up for a minute and talk about some of these things that Melissa was talking about earlier so that we can start understanding this. You guys, your body is super smart. Your body is so smart. It is filled with divine intelligence. It knows what to do, but we don't listen to our bodies. So let's talk about what's actually supposed to happen. We live in an environment that has a lot of stimuli, often traumatic stimuli, traumatic to our brains, traumatic to our body. But our body knows what to do. So when we are presented with something stressful, some stimuli, our body is going to react. It's going to have emotions. Maybe it wants to yell. Maybe it wants to shake. Maybe it wants to cry. Maybe it wants to run. But you know what? We don't do those things. We try to remain calm. We try to not run, not shake. Even with traumatic things, our body goes into something called shock, where it often is shaking profusely. When grief happens, we often start sobbing uncontrollably, right? But what are we always trying to do? We're trying to gain back that control and stop, pull it together, take a breath. Have you ever been with anybody when they've gone into shock? I have. You know what people try to do? Get them out of shock. They try to stop them from shaking. They try to stop them from hyperventilating. They try to stop them from doing all of this. When your body's smart, your body knows exactly what it needs to do to come back to balance. This is the animalistic part of us, the polar bear. They did this awesome research study. Actually, I shouldn't say it's an awesome research study because they actually weren't even researching this. This was something they saw later that happened. But anyways, they were chasing this polar bear by a helicopter to shoot him with a tranquilizer gun. Super traumatic. Like, just think of you, like helicopter behind you, you're like running as fast as you can. And then something like, and you're an animal, so you don't even know what a helicopter is. Like, this is like in the Arctic, you know, like you don't even know what's going on. You're shot with this thing and you fall to the ground. So they do their tests, whatever, and then they leave and they're filming the animal as he wakes back up. And as he wakes back up, his body does this, it starts to shake. It starts to ridiculously shake. He starts to roar, making all these noises. And then he starts to run, like in his sleep. He's like running. And then he pops back up, shakes it off, and is completely fine. And we've seen this in animals over and over again. Those animals that like fall over and freeze and act like they're dead. When they come out of it, they reenact all sorts of stuff. They usually shake profusely. They run. They often make crazy noises. Their body knows what to do to bring them back into balance. And so does our body, you guys. But we're not allowed to do it. We're not allowed to do it. So what happens is we end up all out of balance. You ever wonder why you got that lower back pain? You just can't go away. You wonder why you have that autoimmune disease that like nobody can figure out where it's coming from. You realize that? Like, it's something ridiculous now. I think like 80% of freaking women have like in America have like some sort of autoimmune disorder. Like, it's like nuts that they can't figure out where they came from. You guys, it's your emotions. Your emotions are behind all of it. And when you can't complete those full cycles, because what's happening from a physiological perspective, remember, I'm not here making this up. I know how your bodies work. I know how your brains work. When you are presented with stimuli, your body starts a whole freaking chain reaction. When it says, I know what to do here. Send this emotion, send this, do this, and it starts going and it's sending all these beautiful neuropeptides out to do a chain reaction. But you know what happens? You stop it in the middle. And so then it just sits there releasing a whole bunch of stuff that's not going anywhere. And so there's a difference between stressful and traumatic situations and stress and trauma. There's always going to be this stimuli out here, but stress and trauma, when people say, oh my gosh, like, you know, that was trauma. No, that wasn't trauma. Trauma and stress are what's left behind in you. And this is where I love to talk about big T versus little t, because we make trauma out to be, guys, we make our emotions and trauma out to be so freaking scary. We're like, oh God, trauma. Oh God, emotions. Like, they're not scary. We have just been taught this. Processing your trauma, you guys, is not scary. You've just been taught it's scary, but it's not. It's actually exactly what your body needs to feel better. And a lot of times we think of trauma like these crazy events like car accident or divorce or like, you know, rape, abuse. but it isn't. Remember that little kid I talked about who had that potato chip taken away and like lost his shit, but wasn't allowed to lose his shit? Yeah, that was traumatic to that little one. That was traumatic. That was viewed as your body as a traumatic situation. And your body needed to do a whole lot of things, because kids are the best example of this. They'll thrash themselves around. They'll scream, they'll yell. Have you ever seen that with a kid where you're like, dude, you literally can't have a Cheeto. Why are you losing your shit? They need to. They're integrating something, and we don't let them. We don't see them. We don't hear them in these moments. We shame them. We make them feel scared of their emotions. We make them bad. And then we carry that all through adulthood. And then you wonder why. Do you ever look at our world right now and feel like everybody looks like a bunch of little kids fighting each other? Because we never learned how to truly process our emotions. Because if we're able to do this, and I know a lot of people often get scared and they're like, oh my God, though, if I let this go and I just start letting all of this out, am I going to become like one of those crazy people that's like yelling at people all the time and like losing my shit? No, you actually learn how to actually control your emotions. You see, oh crap, I have an emotion. I'm not going to vomit this on a person. I'm going to excuse myself and get this out. Like, you start to learn how to utilize what's happening in your life and these emotions to evolve. As I like to say, evolve, like right on topic. Feeling is healing, or as I like to say, evolving. We have such a big connotation right now about like healing. We have to heal ourselves. I'm healing this, right? And I think it's good that we're like looking back at our stuff and working to heal our crap, but I like to use the word evolving more, because healing gives this connotation that like, oh, I'm going to heal this and it's going to be like gone. Like, I'm going to be the perfect person. And you're never going to be the perfect person. You are always going to have emotions, because you're always going to be evolving as a human. You're always going to be learning and growing and experiencing. You're always going to be surrounded by stimuli. And that stimuli is going to challenge you to evolve and grow. And so we're really evolving here. Yeah, do we have some back stuff that we need to heal real quick? Yeah, we do. Do we have the healing stuff we got to do, like that stuff from like our parents and stuff, and ancestral? Because that's the other thing, guys. Some of this stuff, just like your lovely ancestors handed you down diseases and all sorts of fun, they also handed down their unprocessed emotions to you. I know. It's why, like, maybe you can have all the money in the world, but for some reason you still feel like all the money is going to be taken away from you. Yeah, because you never healed all that unprocessed emotions around money being taken away from you from all the people behind you. You know how you a nice place and everything feels good, but somehow you still always feel unsafe and like someone's going to come like steal your kids. Yeah. You know, because it's their fun. And like, when you look back in history, man, humanity's had some doozies, y'all. There's been some doozies. And so when we have this stress and anxiety that we don't know where it's coming from, and you know how people love to say things like the reptilian brain, you know, like, oh, well, something happened with your computer and you're having a stressful thing because like your reptilian brain is thinking a tiger's coming after you. That literally is true. That literally is true. This is often what's behind our stress and anxiety, is this old human crap where we feel constantly afraid and unsafe and all these things because you weren't able to process it back then. There's a reason why you weren't able to process it back then, because you had to survive. If a tiger is chasing you, you guys, it is not productive to cry. You will die. And so your body says, oh my gosh, if I'm at this level of stress, I can't process my emotions. I need to just survive. The problem that's happened is we're not being chased by tigers. Most of our lives are not being threatened. Don't get me wrong. There are still people in this world that are being chased by tigers and lives are being threatened. And that's a different deal. But when your life isn't being threatened, but you still feel that way, we're often carrying such a high level of stimuli from the outside world that we're unable to get in and actually deal with it. And we're going to talk about that when we get into the rapid relief technique in the process. So there's unproductive processing and there's productive processing. of our emotions. There's feelings versus emotions. And Melissa was kind of talking about this, thinking versus feeling versus emotions. We often think we're feeling our emotions because we feel them in our bodies and we're sitting there fuming. So let's say somebody just made you mad in your life and you are trying to let it go, but instead you feel it in your body and you're playing that scenario over and over in your head while you're like going about your daily tasks. So you feel like I'm feeling these. And then you're like, now I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let this go. And so you just like push it out of your head, or you meditate and you let it go. You acknowledge that you're mad. I'm acknowledging that I'm really mad here. But that's not emoting. That's not an emotion. That's not expressing. That's not productive. That's not a productive processing. So we're often doing a lot of unproductive processing, and unproductive processing looks like what I just stated, running it around in your head, kind of feeling it in your body. And another unproductive processing looks like that person made me mad and I went and unloaded on them, felt better, and then moved on. That's not productive either. You might feel better for a moment, or you're watching a TV show and you cry because it's so sad that that guy dies and you feel a little better because you cried, but we never actually got to the core. So it's going to keep showing up. The stress is going to keep being there. The anxiety is going to keep being there. The pattern is going to keep showing up because we never got to the core. Now, the biggest issue we have around our emotions is often this judgment around feelings and emotions. We believe that having a rage out moment, sobbing on your floor, feeling like a weak person is a terrible thing. We believe we have to hold it together. We have all these judgments about anger and sadness. We have appropriate times to feel emotions. Okay, great. Someone died. Cool. Go cry. But like, what about those mornings when you wake up and like everything's actually good in your life, but you feel like you just want to punch somebody? Not appropriate. So what you tend to do then, and I love to talk about this, is you do a little moment of scanning. Where can I find something to unload my annoyance on? Oh, look, Walmart guy who's super slow at the checkout. It's you today. And it really has nothing to do with him. Instead, you should just be observant. Damn, this dude's slow. And go on with your life. Not have this whole physical reaction and this whole about this dude. But we've never been taught to just deal with the feelings and the stuff that come up and actually express them out in real time. So what do stuck emotions and trauma do? They cause your stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. They cause your body issues, pain, disease, imbalances. I always say it's why pharmaceuticals have so many side effects. All they do is literally move your neuropeptides around to different parts of your body. Great, it stopped this from happening, but that energy and that imbalance has to go somewhere else. So it goes over here. Unwanted reactions or responses. You don't want to freaking lose it on your kids. You don't want to freaking lose it on the person who cuts you off on the highway. I know you don't, but you end up doing it. Continual patterns and behaviors that aren't working anymore. How many times are you like, I want to change this? And you try, you fail. You try, you fail. Expectations, societal, family, personal. We end up putting all these expectations then on everybody else to try and make ourselves feel better because we're seeing this through our stuck emotions, and they end up just disappointing us day in and day out. And we feel like, what the hell? This world sucks. The people around me suck. Like, no matter what I do, like everybody is just disappointing me and letting me down. And that sucks to live that way. I've been there. And one of the biggest things your unprocessed emotions are doing is it's keeping you from being you. It's keeping you in a state of seeing the world through things you were supposed to evolve past. And instead, you're living your life with these expectations and these experiences that are making you not be you, not live, not feel and connect and have that happiness. So a little bit more on this, and then we'll get into the good stuff. Trauma is not what happened. And you can't be re-traumatized, you guys. People say this all the time. Well, I don't want to go into my stuff because I'm going to be re-traumatized. I'm not going to be able to get out of it. You are. You are. You'll be fine. You can't be re-traumatized. The trauma already happened. The traumatic event happened. The trauma is what's living in you. You're being re-traumatized literally every day. You're being stressed out and overwhelmed literally every day because it's in there. Going into it's not going to re-traumatize you. It's actually going to start to decrease the trauma that's in you and actually make you start feeling better. And so you hear a lot of these words these days: trauma-informed, trauma triggers, things like that. And a lot of it's just making us scared of our emotions and our trauma. It's tiptoeing around these things, tiptoeing around words, tiptoeing around triggers. When you have a trigger, make it your best friend. It is showing you where trauma and stress and unprocessed emotions are living in your body that need to be addressed so that you can feel better. And that's how we get past our trauma. That's how we start decreasing the stress, the anxiety, and the overwhelm in our bodies and in our life. So what are we told about emotions? We're told emotions are scary. We'll get stuck in our emotions. They'll overtake us. They're not appropriate, and they're bad, or they hurt other people. This is true when we're handling emotions the way we're handling them now. But we don't have to handle them anymore like this. This is an outdated understanding of emotions. None of these are true. It's time to evolve our understanding of emotions. So maybe emotions are actually the answer to all your problems. They are. So remember, your body is smart. To shift things, we must first process things. Emotions are not scary. Remember productive versus unproductive emotions, and remember about the personal experience. Emotions are a personal experience. I'm not giving you a key right now to go unload everything that's been inside of you on all the people you love the most. There may be a lot you want to say. It might not even feel okay, a lot of the things you want to say. Some of the people I've loved the most, I've had so many things come out around them, but I don't say it to them. The emotions are not logical. They are not rational. They are a weird personal experience I am having to learn something and evolve through something. Oh, hold on. Lost our slide. A little slow on there. Okay. So as I said, emotions are not logical or rational. And this is one of the biggest things that we try to do, guys, is we try to make sense of our emotions, right? You'll look at your kid and all of a sudden be like, I just want to like lose it right now on you. But you'll be like, no, he's only 2. Like he didn't do anything. And that actually is true, you guys. It is true. But it doesn't matter because your body's having a reaction, which means there's something that needs to be healed or evolved from. And so you don't do it to the person. You go and discover what's there on your own, which we're going to talk about when we get to the rapid relief technique. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You got to start noticing I'm having this reaction. And for some of you guys, this is going to be hard because you've spent your life stuffing your emotions. You've spent your life trying to ignore and disassociate from them. But your judgments and your triggers are your friends, even the tiniest little ones. As we emote, everything changes. Like I said, those neuropeptides inside of you guys that are running the show, that are moving all those cycles, they literally change, which means how you see the world changes, how you feel about things change, how your body's working changes. Your DNA literally begins to change. Life does not have to be this hard. We are intentionally kept from our emotions for a lot of reasons, you guys, because when you are kept from your emotions, you stay stuck, you stay in fear, and you stay very, very distracted and open to propaganda, to being controlled, to always trying to find a solution and being sold to. You're intentionally kept in this. Religion does it. Capitalism does it. Education does it. We do this all over the board. Why? Because it keeps you in a state where you don't know who you are. You're constantly trying to seek answers. You're kept from yourself. You're kept in a fear-driven state. And you're very easily manipulated. And that's not right. And it drives me crazy. And it's why I have an entire company devoted to teaching people this and to helping you come back to you, coming back to your power, and coming back to living a life that isn't on a freaking rat wheel going round and round, trying to just like check off the boxes and buy stuff, which is like not the human experience. So it's time to feel, heal, and rise, friends. And it starts with the rapid relief technique. So what is it? How it was discovered, what it can do for your life. So what is it? This is a modality that we teach that helps you get to the core of the emotion. So as Melissa was saying earlier, she's like, you have these things happen, but it's not like what's deep down inside. It's not like you have the memory of that time when you were 3 years old and your brother punched you in the face and you weren't allowed to cry about it, right? Like we don't, and especially some of the people who've like really had tough upbringings, and especially some of the people who have long lineages of marginalization and oppression. Like you don't even know what's back there, right? Like you don't even know with some of our demographics and some of our ethnicities and races, like there's a lot back there. We've done humanity some real crappy things in the past. And a lot of those people were in survival mode. They could not process right then. And so it was handed down to us to start processing to evolve. But we don't know it's in there. So this is a beautiful technique that helps you use what's happening in your world out here to discover what's down in there. And it's actually not scary. I think people are always like, what? We're gonna go back to all this stuff. It's not, it's fast. It's easy. You get it out. How was it discovered? It was discovered by me, because I know a lot of people ask, like, well, where did you learn all of this? How did you do this? Like, this has been years and years in the making of me researching, understanding, and using this. And I use a technique called EFT, which people may be familiar with. It's a tapping technique, and we're going to go into it. And I was using that. But again, just like the majority of things, this technique is taught to help neutralize and calm you down. And so I was having a moment with my kids, and I went to use it and started saying the things I knew how to say. Calm down. I feel this anger in my body. I'm acknowledging this anger in my body. I'm letting it go. And I ended up losing my shit and just saying all the things. I said some of the most horrible things, you guys, about my kids and myself on that day in the bathroom. And like I said, I did what every great mother did. I locked myself in the bathroom when my kids were driving me crazy. And I started doing this. And it was the first time after I did this where I was like, holy moly, like I feel different. I don't feel like calm and it's still there. Like I feel like it's gone. And I started doing it more. And I started really realizing that we have to express what's in there. Like we really have to express what's in there. And it starts to change everything, you guys. That's what it can do for your life. I used to tell people when they'd ask me what I do for a living, I was like, I teach people how to do magic. And they'd be like, so you're a witch? I'm like, not exactly. But I literally, it changes your life. Like all of a sudden you watch things that used to bother you are gone. People that used to trigger you no longer trigger you. Things that were never happening before happening. Things that you used to have to fight yourself to do, like procrastination, all of a sudden gone. Things just start to change in your life and you're like, what? And then the stress, anxiety, and things like that, just gone. Okay, so now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this. What are the steps of the rapid relief technique? You need to notice a trigger pattern or something that involves a feeling or an emotion. Do not ignore or judge said feeling or emotion. Number 2 might be the hardest step here because we're so programmed to push away our stuff, to suppress our emotions, to not want to deal with them, to logic them away. I shouldn't be mad about this. Do not ignore or judge said feeling or emotion. Use the event to get to the core emotion that is behind this. Get to the core using voice, movement, and tapping while expressing. So remember, this is like what I said, where my husband triggered me, right? And I went in there, and really the reason I was triggered had nothing to do with him. It was about being dismissed by my parents when I was little. I used this to get to the core of what was really there, to the core that had been defining my life and how I see the world. And then you feel relief. Yay, rapid relief. So you can say things out loud or not, but either way, they're living inside of you. And I think that this is a big thing we don't understand. We feel like if we just pick a better feeling thought, if we just, look over here on the brighter side, it will be gone. It's not gone. It's in there and it needs to come out of you. And the only way it comes out of you is through expression, so your body can come back to balance. I think Melissa wants to say something.
Well, this is one of my favorite things to say. And so I want to just say it again one more time for the people from the cheap seats in the back kind of vibe. You can acknowledge your emotions. You can say the things out loud or not. You deciding to bring it to light doesn't change the fact that it's living inside of you. And one of the big things that I personally feel is actually more harmful in the professional development, self-help, personal development world is this idea of change your thoughts, change your reality, change your mindset, change your reality. Just anchor into your affirmations. That to me is sophisticated avoidance, I call it, or sophisticated repression. We are teaching ourselves to stop feeling. We are judging the things that we want to say because we think that they're bad. There's no such thing as good emotions or bad emotions. There's just emotions. It's just society that has told us things like anger, rage, hate, those are bad. They are not bad. They are bad when they are projected onto another person. But as a parent or as a coworker or as a leader or as a wife, as a partner, as a daughter, a son, a husband, wherever you are dealing with humans that have emotions, and you're going to have emotions, especially in the beginning, that you don't like. I remember for me, some of the biggest ones were emotions around my kids. That was actually the last hurdle I had to jump per se on this journey. The last nut I had to crack was really diving into the emotions around my kids, because there were times I wanted to say the ugliest, most horrible things. And I would stop myself because I had so much guilt around it. And these words on the screen is what echoed into my head. Say them out loud or not, they are living inside of you. And the only way to get rid of that is to release it. As long as we keep trying to say, but they're happy, they're healthy, I'm hashtag blessed. As long as we keep trying to convince ourselves that we don't have a feeling, it's going to keep populating and showing up in ways that we don't want it to. As a parent, as a wife, as a husband, as a friend, as an employee, as a leader, whoever you desire to be, those emotions will keep coming up. The beautiful thing about acknowledging those emotions is when you eliminate that core emotion, you eliminate it from the full 360 degrees of your life. So if you have a feeling of nobody listens to me, so you've asked your kid for the 1 millionth time to do something, it doesn't happen. Nobody listens to me. F sakes. Nobody listens to me. Everything is so difficult. You're angry, and you can get to that root emotion. All of the sudden, your spouse listens to you. You can have deeper conversations.
That's the magic.
Listens to you. The person at the checkout counter, a customer service person, is just a little bit more helpful. You can take one emotion and eliminate a lifetime of struggles, and you don't even realize you have that power until you let it out.
Yep. And that's where the magic comes in. All of a sudden, things start to change all around you. Okay, so what does expressing look like? Because I think a lot of times, like I said, we think that it's thinking about our things. Like we think it's sitting in there being like, I'm just so mad right now. I'm so mad. Like thinking about it, like feeling it in our body. But thinking is not feeling, and feeling is not always emoting. I often have clients and I'll say to them, Okay, they say, well, I am feeling my emotions. And I say, what does feeling look like to you? And they'll say things like, well, my mom made me really mad the other day. And I was just sitting there and I was like steaming about it and like thinking about how mad I was about it and how angry I was. And I said, well, did you yell about that? Did you say out loud all the things that you wanted to say to her? Not to her, but out? Did you move your body and maybe like make a punching because you felt like you wanted to punch her? Oh, no, I didn't do that. Okay, well, then you didn't actually express your emotion. You just felt it in your body and thought about it in your head. So remember, when we look at the word and emotion, emotion, energy in motion, there is a motion. And a lot of times our emotions, they don't need to make sense. They're a lot of times not real. I remember having a conversation with my daughter at one point when she got real mad at me and she said all these things to me. I hate you. You're horrible. I hope you die. All this stuff. And because I do this work, I witnessed it all. I let her go through her thing. She went to her room. She cried and cried, screamed, yelled. And then she came out like 10 minutes later and she was like, I am so sorry that I said all of those things to you. That was terrible. I did not mean them. He said, I appreciate that. I know you didn't. I know it was an emotion. Well, a little bit later, her brother had a moment and he said all these things. And she's like, why is he so hurtful to me? And I said, hey, baby, do you remember that time you yelled all those things to me? And then after you went all through it, you realized that it wasn't real. And she was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, he doesn't mean them. He's just having a moment. And should he have excused himself and gotten those emotions out on his own? He should have. But you know what? We're messy humans. And sometimes we mess up, and we do, even me, it happens. Like sometimes it still happens, but it's very rare. And so it doesn't need to make sense. What's going on in our bodies about why we feel about something doesn't need to make sense. But it's here for us to understand and evolve past. And so those were some examples that I shared, right? It doesn't make sense. Like sometimes I have been so mad, or the one I shared with when we were in Arizona, like what she said did not make sense for me to have that reaction. My brain even knew it. And so you guys are going to have to start differentiating this. This is like the first step in really differentiating to see your brain's going to want to talk you out of this. Your brain's going to want to talk you out of this because you've been so programmed this way. You're going to have to start listening to your body and your real emotions. So why the rapid relief technique? Well, the tapping that I'm going to show you what we do, it does two things. First, it calms. So it actually hits your amygdala and calms your body a bit. And this is important because remember how I talked about the whole survival thing? If your body's at a certain level of stress, you literally won't be able to feel your emotions because it's like a check-in mechanism for your body. Oh, we are like threatened. We're threatened by something. Our levels are here, so we can't feel or we'll die. But that's not true anymore. Now, well, I shouldn't say it's not true anymore. It may be true for some people, but it's not true for the majority of people who are joining us in this event. You're not having tigers chase you. You're not, and some of you maybe, our world's crazy right now in war situations. Like most of us aren't in like immediate life-threatening situations. And so we have to be able to get our brain down, but we're overstimulated. We have so much coming at us, so much about the world, so much about our thing, like we're overstimulated. And so our body's up to that stress level where we can't feel. So the first thing it does is it actually brings your body down. And this is what EFT teaches too. If you're familiar at all with tapping, this is what's tapping. But what we've learned with the rapid relief technique and what I've learned and teach now is that it actually is a clearing mechanism too. It sends a vibrational signal into your body, kind of like an autoclave when you get your jewelry cleaned. And it actually starts to loosen up that stuff, those really, truly repressed memories, not the suppressed ones that you just know about and pushed away, but the repressed stuff that we don't even want to look at, the stuff Melissa was saying, where you don't even know what's in there that needs to come up. And it might sound scary to you guys, but it really isn't. What it does is it cracks that open. And when you look at your kids or you look at children, when they have emotions, they're actually pretty short. And I'll tell you guys, I work with a lot of people who've gone through a lot of trauma, and I mean big T trauma, right? And I'm always amazed how fast you actually process through it once you actually let yourself fully feel, fully move, fully speak, you process through it. It actually tends to be a lot quicker than we've been told by the world. I think we stay stuck in our emotions because how we handle them now actually keeps us stuck in our emotions. We end up in therapy for 10 years talking about the same thing over and over again, never being able to get over it because that wasn't actually emoting. That wasn't actually feeling and releasing our emotions. The rapid relief technique is also always available. This was something that was super important to me when I discovered this, was that, not everybody has access to going to therapy. Not everybody has access to acupuncture. Not everybody has access to all of these things. This can be done in your home whenever you need it. You don't need to book an appointment. You don't need to pay money. It's literally at your fingertips. It allows for the emotion to pass quicker, and it gives you a sense of permission, because a lot of times the biggest hurdle to us feeling our emotions is that we don't feel like we're allowed to. But for some reason, we were like, I'm going to tap on this. It makes you feel like I'm allowed to do this, baby. And you can finally get it out. Yes,
To Sarah's point about it always being available, she said, you can do this in your own home. You'll see really quickly how accessible it is. But I, for one, and many of our people have done it in bathroom stalls, in your car, hiding behind a garbage can somewhere, in your closet. Like it's wherever your human is, you have access to this.
And that's huge. And what it really does is it removes the stagnant and stuck emotions and trauma from your body. And remember that long list of things the stuck and stagnant emotions and trauma are doing to you. And so the ripple effect of this, guys, is huge. Your stress goes away. Your body starts to heal. Problems that you had in your life all of a sudden start to resolve. You stop having unwanted reactions. Those patterns that you feel like are just constantly showing up are gone. So you're telling me there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance I really might be able to get rid of this stress? Oh yeah, kids. I'm telling you, there's a chance you can start healing your body. You can start healing your relationships. You can start healing your patterns. You can change your life with this technique. So how do we do it exactly? Well, it's actually not very hard. There are simple steps. You're going to tap on these points like this with moderate pressure. See how I'm doing it? If you have long nails, my people with long nails, go like this. Gonna go like this. You're gonna go through the points. We don't use all, if you're familiar with tapping, we don't use all the points from tapping. This is a different type of tapping. It's not TFT, it's not EFT, it's RRT, the rapid relief technique. And now you're gonna say it like you mean it. So I really mean that day when I discovered this, I was in there tapping and saying things like this. I feel so angry. I feel so angry right now. I'm so mad at my kids. I'm so mad at my kids. I'm so mad at life. I wasn't saying what I really wanted to say. I was saying more like big picture, what was happening. I'm so frustrated with this. And then all of a sudden, you guys, I snapped and I started saying things like this. I effing hate you. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I hate you. You're such a bad mother and stupid. My kid, I'm like, he's so mean and he's so terrible and I don't know what to do with him. And he's just always here and I never want him. And then I literally said stuff that was really scary. Like, I wish I never had kids. I wish they would die. I wish I would die. I don't even want to be here. And this was actually pretty short, you guys. And I was sobbing while I was doing it. And, like all this coming up. And it was literally only about a minute or two long. And then I felt better. I felt really better. And so the process is very easy, you guys. It's very easy. It is tapping on these things, and you're going to use what happens in life. If you spill your water and you're pissed about it, stupid water. Why do I spill things? Why do bad things always happen to me? You start going in to these things that seemingly you shouldn't be mad about, but you are. And then you often get down to the rabbit hole of, bad things always happen to me ever since I was little. And then there's that big thing.
Sarah said something about her, tapping about her kids and things getting really ugly. And I hate you and I wish I never had you. If you're listening to this and that feels really jarring for you to hear, I want to go back to my favorite statement. You can say it out loud or not. It doesn't mean that you don't feel it. These feelings are still living in you. And again, like for me, oh, what? How could you say those things? It
Doesn't mean
it
you're a
means
bad
something
person,
and
you
it means
guys.
nothing. It
Yes.
doesn't mean that you actually hate your kid and want them gone from this earth. It means that you're having an emotion.
Yes. And usually those surface things you're saying are actually taking you down to something much bigger. Because that's like what I said, that's where you get to the thing where all of a sudden it's like, nothing ever works out for me in life. Nothing ever works out for me in life. And that's what I got to in that bathroom that day was, I'm never going to be good enough. No matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, I'm always going to fail. I'm never going to be good enough. So it got to that real core human ick that was living in me. I didn't hate them. I wasn't, but that's how the world was helping me evolve past this big thing. And so it's easy for us to sit here and be like, well, I'm not a bad person. I would never say those things. No one's saying you're a bad person, but I guarantee you there's some gook going on inside of you that needs to come out if you're feeling stress and anxiety and overwhelm. So try it. You might like it. Just tapping. So let's practice. Everybody now, think of something bothering you. Literally. And sometimes this can be hard when you're like not like something's actually not bothering you, but when you use it in real time, it really works. But often just think of something right now that's bothering you, even if it's the world. Oh my God. I mean, this world's freaking triggering as hell. Like, think of something right now you just saw on Instagram, yesterday that you were like, what the hell? And just tap on that and just start saying what you really want to say. What do you really want to say right now? What do you really want to say? Trying to think of something.
While you're thinking, Sarah, and if you're somebody who says this constantly throughout your day, God, no one ever listens to me. You might actually find it very difficult to physically say the words out loud. I, for one, was one of those people, and I had a very deep seated belief, like no one ever listens to me. So there's no point even saying anything. And it goes back to my childhood. It goes back to, my parents being very much like a top down, like do as I say, not as I do. If you want to live under my house, you have to obey my rules. Really dictating how I needed to show up. And so if you're somebody who is constantly like, oh, no one listens to me. Well, what's the point? What's the point? And you find yourself kind of huffing and puffing that, it's not uncommon for you to have a really hard time to say those things out loud because you have a core belief that there's no point using your voice. On this point as well about parents, because we get this question a lot, where we're like, don't blame your parents. Don't blame our parents. Our parents did the best that they could. I also want to remind you that you can still have an immense amount of love and appreciation for your triggers, for the people that are triggering you, for your past, for the things that your parents gave you, while also feeling hurt. And in fact, in many ways, by acknowledging those hurts, by acknowledging the times where the little human, little Melissa, felt unseen, unheard, unvalued, by releasing that feeling, it actually can bring you a lot closer to people in your life, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
That's very, Sarah said,
you feel it with people. Like you might not outwardly be saying, and I know if you guys are on here and you have kids, right? Like, sometimes where you say to your kids, well, honey, of course I don't feel that way. And they say, yes, you do. And you're like secretly thinking in your head, like, well, yeah, I am pretty annoyed right now, but you're not like wanting to like share it. Like, we know that, like, you guys can tell in life when somebody's saying like, well, I'm not mad about it. And you're like, yeah, right. Like,
or you had the upbringing where people were like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, where they did actually emotionally, that's manipulating your emotions. And you're like, well, you're not mad, but now I'm a disappointment. So remember that just because you're giving words to your emotions doesn't mean that you're crucifying the person that gave you so much. A lot of us have this. I for one had a huge time. I made a lot of excuses. I said this to Sarah. It's like, I know my parents had their shit. I know that they did the best that they could. And I sat in logic. And then one day I was like, why am I making excuses for the hurts that I experienced
had.
growing up.
There was still
It's
a little
not about,
Melissa that had hurts that needed to be seen and heard and said.
and a lot of times I think that we think that when we say things out loud, we're blaming people. Our emotions, and this might even be in a next slide, our emotions are a very singular experience. So if my partner says something to annoy me, Sarah has said many things that have annoyed me and vice versa. And it's not about me blaming her for being somebody for hurting me. It's not about her at all. It's about me. And the same when we look back at our past, we're not blaming our parents for doing a shitty effing job. We just needed something that we didn't get in a moment. And
your
by
parents didn't
releasing that
know.
emotion, you actually can grow bigger and build better relationships, because now you're not seeing things through the lens of I'm hurt, I'm never good enough, my mother never thinks I'm good enough. You feel like a completely whole person, and you don't need somebody to be plugging holes for you, emotional holes for you.
Because remember, it's all about you and not about you all at once.
So practice.
So practice. Start doing this. Start doing this. When you have something show up in your life and you're annoyed, go lock yourself in the bathroom and start going through this. I will put a little PSA. If you go look up tapping videos online, you're going to get more of the EFT version ones, which is not how we do it. And so just be aware of that. Like, come back to this video, and I'm going to talk in a second about our membership that I would love to invite you guys to come and join, because we have plenty of videos and scripts and stuff that actually help you do it this way so that you do get to the core. And it's not this constant thing of like, okay, I've calmed myself, it's back. I've calmed myself, it's back. Because that's what we mainly do these days, where let's get it gone. And so I want you guys to get curious and use the little things. Often we let everything bottle up until something big happens, and then it's like, we explode. But we want to get to a place of using the little things. You know, for example, I'll give you an example in my life. Yesterday, I got sent an email, and that email caused like a whole thing in me. And my brain even was like, why this email should not be causing anything in me, but it did. And so I started going into it. And guys, I had this big core thing that came up around, I didn't do anything wrong. Why do people think I did something wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I just kept saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, like over and over again. And I had all these flashbacks of like these memories of like literally people getting mad at me and me doing nothing wrong, but like feeling like, oh crap, you know? And so it was really interesting, but it was cleared from that little tiny email that came through. And I was like, right? And so I've gotten good at this. It can take a moment to get good at this. Like, I'm like overloading you with a bunch of new stuff right now. And so remember, guys, learning something new takes a moment. I feel like I've like fire hosed you with all this new concepts, this new understanding, this new technique. And so it can take a moment. It's like if you go to yoga for the first time, or you walk, think of kids when they learn to walk, they stand up, they fall down, they stand up, they fall down. And eventually it gets easier and easier. And so it may take a moment. If you're trying this and it feels really unnatural, it might, because it's new. If nothing's happening in the beginning, it might, because you suppressed your emotions for the last 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades, depending on how old you are. Okay, so remember that it may take a moment, but this can be applied to all things. Parenting example. If your kids are just saying things, you're in the car and you're like, start saying it. Even if you have to whisper, or not even say it out loud. Start the process of getting it out. Or I used to keep a little notebook and I would write the things sometimes. This happened. And then I would go back to it later. Work example. Someone bothering you at work, somebody you feel like doesn't see you, doesn't appreciate you. Take it to the bathroom, take it to your closet, say all the things you want to say to that person. Move your body. If you feel like you want to move your body, get it out. Relationship example, spouse saying things, even if you feel like that person's wrong, even if you feel like that time my husband didn't speak to me very nicely, excuse yourself from the situation, deal with all your emotions first, then come back to the drawing board. Health example, you got stuff going on in your body you don't like, you got things on your body you don't like, say it. One of the things I have in our membership, I have an exercise I have people do when they get to the body part, where I have them stand naked in front of the mirror and say all the things they wanted to say to their body. And it's all the stuff that comes out. You're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that was in there, but it's in there, you guys. Whether or not you want to acknowledge it, whether you want to see it, it's in there. And if we can't be happy and at home in our bodies, we will never feel safe and loved anywhere else in this world, because this is our initial first place and home. Money examples. Feeling stressed about money, feeling like money just keeps on going out the window, feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe how expensive those freaking raspberries are. Use it. It will start getting to the core and unraveling, because you guys, when it comes to money, my Lord, do we have a tangled belief system around money. And if you're wanting money to change in your life, it's actually not about the money. It's actually about a bunch of these core things, your deservability, all sorts of stuff that's going on inside of you that needs to start changing so that you can feel more supported, more loved, and have more resources. We weren't kidding when we said what you'll learn today will kick your stress and change your life. It seriously will, you guys. You can live a life that does not have stress. Like, you seriously can. So what we're currently doing and why it's not working. Most of the techniques we're using to reduce stress in our life actually aren't reducing anything. They are techniques used to either suppress stress, your emotions, or to momentarily calm ourselves through a distraction or a dissociation. Sometimes, you guys, this is useful. If I have 85 people coming over to my house for a party, going into a big trauma might not be the way. I might need to use a quick breathing exercise, a quick thing, but let's be real. Even when we do that, it doesn't fully work, right? It's still in there. You're still kind of annoyed. It's still there, but you're coping and making it through. With this, you don't cope and make it through. You get it out so that it feels completely different. Mindset is a privilege. Ever wonder why there are those out there that can just change their mindset, but you can't? Because this goes so deep. It goes into our nervous system, into our DNA. So if you've ever noticed how the majority of people that teach mindset stuff are white men, I didn't say it, she said it. But anyways, the reason why is because mindset is a privilege. That is a demographic throughout our world that has less rocks in their backpack, just because they do. They have not been as marginalized, as oppressed, as all sorts of things, as many other genders, ethnicities, races, and so forth. And so mindset is a privilege. Standing up and just saying, oh, just change your mindset, change your life, this can apply to everybody. It doesn't. Because if you're not getting to the root of that nervous system and that DNA and that trauma and that emotion, mindset isn't going to do anything for you. It's like having a computer that you never updated the motherboard. So you're putting a program in the hard drive and the motherboard's like, not compatible. You need to update that motherboard so that the program is compatible. Just like when your phone, when you're trying to download that app and it's like, you need ISO blah, blah, blah for this. And you're like, oh, I got to go do the update. This is what's happening. Mindset's only going to work when it's compatible with that operating system. And most of our operating systems are not compatible with abundance and prosperity and being supported and being loved and being deserving. So it all sounds nice, but there's very few that skyrocket off with this work, which some of them do, because they already had that foundational piece that worked. Practices like talk therapy, EMDR, and deep breathing are all centered around coping with stress and not actually getting to the core emotion that is causing the stress. Talk therapy, you can talk all day, but until you're actually expressing, really, really expressing and saying the terrible, no good things that are in you and blah, they aren't. And some of these things are so repressed, guys, that talking about them won't get them. That's why the tapping comes in. It literally is causing a process that's allowing the stuff to start unearthing in your body. EMDR is a disassociation. It literally is taking the thought and the emotion and separating them so that now when you have that thought, you have no feeling about it. But you know what? all it did was take that emotion and detach it from it. And now it's in your body somewhere. But don't worry, this work brings them back together and gets it out, but it's not doing what we need it to do. Talking about emotions is not feeling them. Most of us believe we're feeling our emotions when actually we aren't. Hence the cycle of stress we continue to find us in. More on this tomorrow. That's obviously an old slide because I won't see you tomorrow. Okay, so a few things to remember before we wrap up here. Most of the techniques we're using to reduce stress in our life aren't actually reducing anything. They're techniques used to either suppress stress or momentarily calm ourselves. The rapid relief technique is true healing and evolving. It's taking you through the emotions so it can be fully expressed, fully released, and your life can change. You can stop constantly fighting yourself and you start to feel better and you start to come back to you. So guys, this is a simple process and I've literally given it to you. Find something bothering you in your life, talk about it, tap through it. But it's not always easy to apply. And sometimes it can be hard because like, I just gave you a lot and it's all new in your emotions and you're like, "Rah." So I want to talk briefly about our Happy Human membership before we close up here. Again, we've given you guys all the information. It's a very big passion to me to make sure that people can have access to this without paying for anything. But I know there's also a lot of you that like support and have the ability to work with people. And so we'd love to talk to you about our Happy Human membership and what's inside of there and how it can help you understand all of this a lot easier, use it a lot easier, and start changing your life a lot faster. Because the one thing people always say to us when it comes to this is, I wish I would have joined the membership sooner. We have people that'll take this, they take it, they do it, and then they join the membership eventually. And they're like, God, I wish I would have joined this sooner. It's so incredible. And it really is. So in the Happy Human membership, we have a lot of great stuff in there. We have our key course called The Foundation that cleans out all the gunk and sets you up for success. So all this emotion and stuff we've been talking about that's in your body, you guys, like we know what's in there. We've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so there are actual scripts and tapping recordings in there where all you have to do is talk and tap and it starts to pull all this stuff out. You don't have to wait for the thing to show up in your life. You don't have to try to decipher this. It gets you really acquainted with this technique, and then it gives you resources to really start pulling this stuff out, helping you apply it to relationships, to your body, to money, to parenting, to all the things. Then we have our daily dose, which is our daily motivation, inspiration, and live energy. So this is where me or the team goes live every day to really give you kind of the anchoring part of this, like anchoring into the good stuff. After we remove all the ick, now we got to bring it back in and say, what do we want to create here? What do we want to create? So this is where we start talking about, you know, I'm loved, I'm safe, I'm secure. And we do this together as a group. It's really, really powerful. It puts you just in that energy of believing it's possible for you, because sometimes that's what we need. We don't see that it's possible for us. And we're around people that don't show us stress-free is possible. And so being in a community and being with people daily that remind you that it's possible shifts things. We have weekly Q&A sessions to answer your questions and help you connect the dots. So this is not a self-study. There's a lot of live interaction. There's a community of people, ability for you to post in our app so that you can have feedback right away from the team. It's very supportive. It's very amazing. It's like we took all the great things of all the other industries, added our own flavor to it, and combined it into this amazing, amazing space so that you can get help and do the work much faster, much easier, and really start living your lives so much sooner. So just to show you a little bit, oops, go back. So just to show you a little bit about our membership and the results that we get inside. And remember, guys, this again, we have all sorts of people in this world. This transcends all different types of people. But after 6 weeks inside our membership, 60% of people had a decrease of anxiety, 62 decrease of stress, 62 increase of enjoyment, 52 improve relationship with money, 68 improve relationship with body, 78% improve relationship with their children. You guys, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And the majority of the people in the membership are having really, really phenomenal changes in their life. This is how powerful this work is. So even if you don't join our membership, keep doing this work because this is how powerful It is. Even better though, after 6 months, you guys, look at those stats. 89% decrease of anxiety, 100% decrease of stress, 89 increase of enjoyment, 89 improve relationship with money, 89% body, 83% with a significant other. Those stats are unreal. When we get our stats, I'm always like, should we lower them down? Do we look like we're lying because they're so good? Because they're so good. We have really cracked the code on understanding kind of these missing pieces to why we're all so stressed, why we have this underlying dissatisfaction with life, and the results of our people freaking prove it. So just a few little things to show you that, like, we're not making this up. Here's our people. My life was scrabbled, went through emotions of life, not really feeling, was numb. Now not. I finally feel alive in the most extraordinary ways, just every day. And this is what we're really looking for. That like connection, that ability to just be alive and love life and be present. My biggest shifts were the confidence level and my ability to just be me, shifting and owning who I am, loving who I am, all this self-love stuff, right, guys, that we talk about, that it's like, well, how do you actually do it? This is how you actually do it, by getting all this stuff out of your body. The anxiety, lack of money, safety decreased. And I think this is a huge one because this is such a big stressor in our lives. Once upon a time, I never imagined that I'd be where I am today or right now. I feel like it's just, I feel like this goes fast on me. I know. This is a great one. This is healed myself of chronic neck and back pain. And he talks about how he had done therapists, alignment, neurological specialists, all these things. And it was this work that finally healed his body. That's huge, you guys. So let's talk about the nitty-gritties of it. The Happy Human membership. Our regular price is $9.97 for 12 months access. Why 12 months access, guys? Because as you saw, we get our best results around the 6 month to year mark. There's a lot of stuff you guys got to get out. It's not going to be this dark, terrible time in your life. It's going to be wonderful and beautiful, and you're going to feel better with each way. As you saw, 6 weeks after, people were already having so much goodness. But we've learned that our best results come 6 months and 12 months. And so we want to incentivize people to stay with us and keep doing this work with us so that they can get the best results. So we have a beautiful event pricing today. Save 50% off your membership, 50%, and get 12 months for $498.50 US. Time sensitive, 50% off is available for those who join before midnight on Monday, February 6th. Why is it time sensitive? Because I know how humans work. You guys are like, yes, I want this. I should do this. And then life happens and you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I don't have time. This is helping you show up for you. You are here, guys, for a reason. You saw the ad, you heard about us from somewhere. You're like, I'm freaking stressed out. I want my life to change. Let's do it. Let's change it. And we want to incentivize you and make it as easy for you to say yes to yourself and yes to us. Invest in yourself, invest in us. And we're going to invest right back to you. We're always continually changing the membership, you guys. We're adding breath work to it, which I won't even go into all that, but twice a month now, we're adding breath work, which is a whole new modality of really just allowing your body to completely express and allow stuff out and really bypass the brain, which is so good when you're starting on this. We have little mini courses that we drop throughout the year. We have different ones on money. We just dropped a bunch of parenting stuff. We have stuff in there for our kids now, little kids. They can go and learn about their emotions and how to relate to the world and all sorts of stuff. We are constantly investing back into you and making this membership better and better and better because we believe in humanity and we believe in this work. And we know that by doing this, we can create such a ripple effect in this world. So I really have enjoyed having you guys here. I hope we see all of you in the Happy Human membership. I'll see I don't know if Melissa has any questions. What's next? Obviously, join us in the Happy Human membership. It's the coolest place to be. We have the best deal going right now. You can also go down download the Hey You Human app. So we have our whole own app and a lot of free resources on there. So you can go on there, you can check us out, you can see what's going on in there. That's a great space. There's more on there on the technique and everything like that. You can introduce yourself on there, you can post any questions, and you can keep the conversation going over there. You can also reach out to support@heyyouhuman.com if you have any questions about the membership. A lot of the frequently asked questions we get is like, how long is it going to take us to go through this? We don't really look at it like that. It's not really like you need to spend 7 hours a day doing this. It's not about checking off a box. In general, I think people usually spend a couple hours a week. It's not super work intensive. There's a video, some workbooks. It's more about getting you acquainted with how this works and then using the tappings we have in there to start peeling back the layers. And then what's really great about it is having the community to support you. Is that when you're like, well, this is weird. Is this normal? Like I went through this on my own, guys. I went through all of this fun on my own. And I remember just thinking, God, it would have been so nice if I could have just asked someone, because so much of what I went through was like, is this normal or am I going crazy? Is this weird or is this supposed to happen? Now you're able to come in and say, is this normal? Yep, it's normal. You're good. Keep going. And it also helps you give the introspect. We often don't know what we don't know. I can't tell you the times I've had to come to someone and say, okay, this is what's happening in my life. I keep tapping on this. What am I not seeing? And they're like, oh, well, you're not seeing this. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And then I can go deeper. And so that's the beautiful space of the membership too, is that it just accelerates your process and your ability to uncover the things that are kind of holding you back and keeping you having that stress and help uncover it in a quicker way. So Melissa, do you have any questions, anything to say before we fully wrap up?
Of course I have something to say. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop it in. But I want to put attention to a couple of things. One of the biggest questions that we get asked is, what if I change? What if this changes my relationship with my significant other? What if this just like completely uproots my life? So number one, I want to remind you guys that whether or not you're conscious of it, you are hanging on to garbage in your life. You are hanging on to garbage and you are not consciously making the decision to carry it with you, but you are carrying it with you every single day. And so what this is going to teach you is how to like cut that damn garbage bag open and like, let it go, take it to the landfill, like be gone. So it's not stinking up your life anymore. The other question that people will often ask is, what if this changes the relationships with the people around me? And the reality is that it will.
It will. But that's why you're here.
Change is not bad. It is a very beautiful and organic process. Some relationships that are really stressful to you will actually get really light and easy and deep and beautiful. Some might just fall away naturally. This isn't the type of thing where you get inside the membership and we're going to say, make a list of all the toxic people in your life, set boundaries and cut them off indefinitely.
Yeah.
That is not this. In our world, we tend to feel very comfortable with checklists, to-dos, action items, accomplishments. This is how we know that we're like evolving. This membership is different because it's not another thing that you need to do. It's teaching you and giving you permission to feel. And sometimes that might mean it takes 7 weeks to do one module, and that's okay.
And sometimes you go through 3 modules in a week.
Yes, that's great. Sometimes you do module 3 and you're like, cool, I got it. And then a few months go by and you're like, I don't got it. I got to go back. It's not a linear journey. And that's why we really like the 12 months, is because we find when people are like, oh, I'm paying monthly, I'm paying monthly, I'm paying monthly, they try and ram everything in to get like the best bang for their buck kind of thing. You always have this like ticking time bomb. The biggest thing that I want you guys to understand is that this is not another thing you have to do. It's not another thing you need to schedule. This is about teaching you how to relate to your life differently and letting life come to you and being aware of your emotions and then having the tools and resources available to you to release them. If
And to
you
feel
decide
better.
not to join our membership, you have all the tools. You can learn the rapid relief technique. You can practice it. You can hang out in our free community and release it.
Yep.
The beautiful thing about our membership, though, is it takes your healing or your evolution from a reactive state, I'm triggered, released, to a proactive state. Let's go dive into the body today. And you can actually heal your emotions outside of an emotional state, which is a gift. It is an absolute gift. It gives you the time and the space to, go dumpster diving, so to speak, go into your garbage and cherry pick, what am I ready to release right now? And some stuff, like I said, it took me a while to release things about my kids or my parents. It takes a minute.
Yep.
The membership allows you that time and that space without pressure. And when you feel guilt, oh my God, I'm not doing this, you have the tools to release it. It is, for me and for so many people, the best decision that they've ever made, because it has allowed them to live in true empowerment. You're no longer impacted by stressors. You can be you. You have awareness of yourself and your body that you've never had before. You self-love and self-care isn't going for a massage or going and doing yoga. That stuff is great, but you want to feel at home in your vessel without doing anything.
Yes.
And the Happy Human membership
And that's
teaches you how to do that.
this does, you guys. You no longer have to have the morning routines, the meditation, all of this thing. Like all of a sudden, you just feel good being you. And when things get thrown at you at life, you know you can handle them. You know you can move through them. It's just in a completely different way of living. Like it's amazing. And I want everybody to feel this way because I know how good it is. And I know how good the people who go through this feel. And we would love, love, love to see you in there. So please take advantage of this amazing offer. And we hope to see you on the other side. And if not on the other side, we hope to see you in the app and there for our free weekly events and the things that we do inside there. Otherwise,
if you want more details, I think an email just went out like right now. It'll give you all the details, what you need to click for, more information about the program, all of the things. And if you have questions, just email us, like just reply to the email and we would love to address any of your frequently felt fears, as we say in our world, and help you just feel really good in whatever decision you decide to make.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will hopefully see you around.
See you soon.
Yes. All right.